The fluorescent lights hummed. A lone figure stood in the building's lobby. It was late, far too late. He just wanted to go home. He pressed the button for the elevator. The air hung heavy, thick with the silence of the deserted building. The ding echoed as the elevator doors slid open. He stepped inside, the only passenger on this late-night journey. He pressed the button for his floor. The doors started to close. Then they abruptly stopped. They stuttered, tried to close again. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. The air grew cold. Something was wrong. The elevator lurched. His stomach dropped. The digital display flickered. Numbers flashed randomly. He wasn't going up to his floor. He was going somewhere else. Somewhere he didn't want to go. He jabbed at the buttons. Nothing. The elevator continued its erratic ascent. The digital display went dark. He was trapped, alone, in the belly of a malfunctioning machine. He pulled out his phone. No signal. He was cut off from the world. His heart pounded against his ribs. A cold sweat broke out on his skin. He was trapped in a steel coffin, rushing blindly into the unknown. With a jolt, the elevator stopped. Silence. He held his breath, listening for any sound, any sign of life. There was nothing. Just the heavy silence and the growing feeling of dread in the pit of his stomach. The doors slowly creaked open. They revealed a long, dark hallway. It was not his floor. It wasn't even a floor he recognized. This was something else, something wrong. He hesitated. A wave of unease washed over him. The hallway was dimly lit, lined with doors, but it was eerily silent. No hospital sounds, no beeping machines, no hurried footsteps, just an unsettling, empty silence. He cautiously stepped out of the elevator. The air was cold, stale. It smelled faintly of disinfectant, of sickness. The silence was unnerving. He felt like he was intruding on something he wasn't meant to see. He took a hesitant step forward. The floor was cold beneath his feet. He could hear the echo of his own breath in the oppressive silence. He felt a growing sense of dread, like he was walking into a nightmare. He wanted to go back, to get back into the elevator, but something held him there, compelled him to explore this floor of silence, to uncover its secrets. He walked slowly down the hallway, each step echoing in the silence. He peered into rooms, empty beds, abandoned medical equipment. The air was thick with a strange energy, a sense of something left unfinished. He thought he heard a whisper, faint, almost indistinguishable. He stopped, holding his breath, listening. There it was again, a soft, mournful sound, like a sigh carried on the wind. He continued down the hallway. The whispers grew louder. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was filled with sorrow, with regret. He felt a cold hand close around his heart, squeezing the air from his lungs. At the end of the hallway, he saw a figure, standing motionless in the shadows. He couldn't make out its features, but he could feel its eyes on him, watching him, judging him. The elevator lurched back into motion. He stumbled, grabbing the handrail. The doors slammed shut, plunging him back into darkness. The numbers on the display flickered wildly. This time, he knew it was no ordinary malfunction. This was something sinister. The elevator shuddered to a halt. The doors creaked open. He gasped. Before him was not a hallway but a large room, a children's ward. Toys were scattered across the floor. Small beds lined the walls, but it was the sound that chilled him to his core. Crying. Dozens of children. Their cries echoed through the room, high-pitched and filled with despair. But the room was empty. He saw no children, only heard their tormented cries. The air grew heavy with despair. A cold hand gripped his throat. He wanted to scream, to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot, frozen by the sound of the children's anguish. He felt a presence in the room, something dark and malevolent. It fed off the children's sorrow, their fear. He knew he should leave, flee while he still could, But the elevator remained dormant. He was trapped. The elevator lurched back into motion, ascending rapidly. He braced himself against the wall, his heart pounding in his chest. Fear clawed at his throat. He was trapped in a nightmare, and there was no escape. The elevator screeched to a halt. The doors shuddered open, revealing an impenetrable darkness. A darkness so complete it felt like a physical presence. He couldn't see the hallway, the floor, or even his own hand in front of his face. Then he saw them. 2 points of light, glowing eyes. They pierced the darkness, staring directly at him. He felt a wave of primal terror wash over him. He was not alone. A low growl emanated from the darkness, sending shivers down his spine. The eyes moved closer, their malevolent gaze never leaving him. He was the prey, trapped in their hunting ground. He wanted to scream, to run, but his body was frozen in terror. The elevator remained his only sanctuary, a fragile cage surrounded by an abyss of unknown horrors. He was trapped, awaiting his fate. He slammed his fist against the elevator buttons. Nothing. The doors wouldn't close. He was trapped, facing the abyss, the glowing eyes burning into his soul. A cold, raspy voice slithered from the darkness. "Welcome," it whispered. "You have reached your final destination." The voice sent chills down his spine. It reeked of death and decay. The eyes in the darkness blinked. He felt a surge of dread, a sense of impending doom. The growl grew louder, closer. Something was coming for him. The doors began to close, slowly, inexorably. He was being sealed in with the darkness, with whatever lurked within. His screams echoed in the confines of the elevator, a final, desperate plea for salvation, but there was no answer, only the echoing silence of the abyss.